two-way podcasts are a lot production-wise, but when you get it.
It looks so good. It's going to be great. We were just talking about Gator guys. Do you know that Lana Del Rey is married to a Gator guy?
No.
She married a normie.
Oh, yes, you're right. Because then I remember the news article, people were like, this is who multi-platinum selling artist,
Yeah.
so-and-so married to. And it's just like guy with a beard.
Yeah.
Like, looked like he's rough and tough on an ATV.
Lana Del Rey got with a Gator guy, so I got with a Gator guy. I'm just kidding.
Which is very much the premise of her. Do you know the music video for Ride, which is one of her early songs?
Iconic.
Gator guys.
One of my best.
It's all Gator
my
guys.
favorite songs of all time.
In that music video.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. It's very on brand for Lana.
Yeah.
I love Lana. She's one of my favorite artists of all time. Norman effing Rockwell. Iconic album.
You gave me the album for a birthday gift.
Did you listen to it yet?
Yes. Okay. Well, two of the songs. I haven't gotten into it.
Two of the songs.
I've been literally telling
myself.
I've been telling myself, and this is why I've talked to you about my mental busyness lately.
Yeah.
I've literally been telling myself for months that I want to sit down and listen to that album.
Yeah.
Just sit in my living room.
Yeah, you need to.
I have very good album record player speakers.
Yeah.
I just want to blast it with my subwoofer. We have the same ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to listen to that one and some of the old Supremes.
Yeah.
And SZA's new one.
Yeah.
I like those three. I just want to sit, and maybe I'll do that this weekend.
Yeah,
I need to just sit with it.
It's a good one to listen to with I would say a glass of wine, but I don't drink. So I don't know, just a tea, herbal tea, a mocktail. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, we're talking about Lana because apparently Lana allegedly might be in some hot water with the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. And we thought this was
you do, girl?
Girlfriend. Those Gator guys, they really get us in trouble. They do. No, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about what the FTC is and what the allegations. It's not so much about Lana, really, as just what they are. So
I think they are the best way to word them. I feel like I learned about it when I was actually studying media back in college.
They're the feds.
The feds
influencers.
For influencers. Yeah, it's kind of the Federal Trade Commission, right? That just watches over all things media and makes sure that it's the Better Business Bureau, but for online content.
Yeah.
Especially. And you'll hear about it a lot. We just had the podcast about, I don't know when it's coming out, but there will be an episode about contracts and things like that. And a lot of times in brand deals, you will have that mentioned a lot because the brand needs to make sure, you're working with these Fortune 500 companies that do have eyes on them. You don't really have the FTC's eyes on you. But let me tell you, after working in corporate, the FTC is on big brands for saying that they're advertising in a certain city, but then the background of the image is a different city.
Yeah.
They will clock you for that and they will give you fees and they will try to make sure that you are being as good about your advertising and making sure people know they're being advertised to as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I guess Lana got herself into some trouble in that she posted something that didn't really seem like it was an ad, but it was in fact something that was a sponsorship.
Yeah.
For her.
So Lana she modeled for the Skims, Kim Kardashian's lingerie and shapewear brand. It was a really cute shoot, actually. I hate to admit because I don't really support.
I saw it. I can confirm it was a really cute shoot, and really Skims honestly does really great advertising.
They do. They work with up and coming
in the moment, people.
Not that Lana's up and coming; she's an icon, but you know what I mean. She kind of really had
you'll see
a big
someone
moment.
in the news, and all of a sudden they're in the Skims campaign.
So she modeled for them, and Lana is okay. I guess we do have to talk a little bit about Lana, just because I'm a big fan of hers. Not just of her music, but of the persona of Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey does not give a F. Okay. She is she literally posts the most random stuff on her Instagram. She randomly deactivates her Instagram. Do you know about her Pixar scandals?
No.
So this started during the pandemic for one of her songs that came out on Blue Banisters, one of her pandemic albums. She literally just posted a selfie and whatever the song title was, but it was Pixar. You know what that is? It's janky Canva.
Yeah.
She just makes these covers herself. And like she just did that
Like it
for
looks super 2D and like poorly made
yeah, it
and
was
stuff
just like
like
a
that.
selfie in her car. Like that was her like single cover. She is just, and that's why we love her. She is down to
Yeah,
earth. She marries just a random man from Louisiana. Like,
right.
you know, whatever.
It's a whole
So
vibe.
it's very on brand that Lana Del Rey posted this Skims campaign and did not like tag the brand, did not hashtag ad, did not mark it as a
Right.
paid partnership, even though she was obviously getting paid. She wasn't doing that for free.
Yeah.
So that's the issue is she didn't mark it as an ad or paid
When her
partnership.
branding bites back at her for like when you have to be formal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I think a lot of creators deal with. I mean, even for me personally, I'm all about fun,
Yeah.
funny, uh, very candid moments.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I have to say, I'm doing, very formal FTC related
Yeah.
things like putting ad in text on the video
Yeah.
sometimes. I'm like, I know this does not look right. And the brand knows it too,
Yeah.
that it doesn't look the best,
Yeah.
but they have to have it sometimes.
So apparently, according to Yahoo Entertainment, the West Coast singer wrote in the caption,
West
quote, bad and bougie, and tagged Skims. However, she did not indicate that the professional photos were an advertisement or a paid partnership with Kim's apparel company. So the rumor that came out was that Kim Kardashian was suing Lana Del Rey, which they have shut down, or at least Lana shut down. She said that's not happening.
Yeah.
But there was, I guess, like a complaint to the FTC. So it sounds like they're investigating it. So I pulled up the FTC's website. They have, and I'm going to link it to you in the show notes because if you're a creator, if you're doing any type of brand collabs, you should familiarize yourself with this page. It's specifically called Endorsements, Influencers, and Reviews. So basically, again, read through in detail, but clear disclosure. So it can't be like hidden. For example, maybe you do an Instagram story against a white wall and you make the text in white that says ad. That's not clear.
No. Or even like a slight gray. Like sometimes I'll see people where it's like blended in. I think you can it has to be visible. You have to be able to read it. Readability, I guess, is like the key term there.
Yeah.
I think too, what's interesting about past ones I've done is that every brand seems to have their own version of how they interpret the FTC rules.
Yeah.
Because I've had to do very different accommodations on different videos for different brands. And I'm like, who's in the right? Who's right? You know what I mean? I really don't know. Because should everyone be doing this certain way, which seems very cold?
Yeah.
Or is it kind of just good to put the paid partnership logo on it and send it on through?
Right.
Yeah,
and I definitely noticed the bigger the brand, like I did a thing
more
with the
sensitivity.
big and yeah, like a financial company. I mean, the stuff that I had to put in mine, I was like, this is a book that I'm writing, versus like, I don't know, your local boba shop. It's
Right.
probably like, I don't know, just hashtag ad, I guess. Like,
Well, paid partnership. I don't know.
But I will say too, I've actually had the reverse happen where brands have been like, we want it to seem really organic. Do you have to put this is sponsored?
I've had that too.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yes, I do. Yes, I have
legally.
Because
I'm not Lana, okay?
Right. I feel like in the past, there's been a brand that had said like, hey, we've noticed that putting hashtag ad decreases the views on a platform. Can you just nix it? And I was like, no. I don't think they even said, can you just nix it? But they were just kind of like,
yeah.
Do we need it? And I was like, yes, I have to put it.
Yeah.
Like it stinks, but
Yeah.
I have to. But I think that's what, to even talk about it, like my own experience with it too, I noticed that Instagram really doesn't, if anyone's like a creator on Instagram versus TikTok, things like that, Instagram doesn't ding you as much if you put paid partnership. I've had organic posts that marked paid partnership that have gotten like 120,000 views organically. But TikTok is so rude about if you put hashtag ad, they will not give you organic reach.
Yeah.
Like even if your video does great, like the reach on, but it makes sense because you have to put hashtag ad. So I think TikTok's algorithm just relies more on hashtags and things like that because it's newer. Yeah, I don't know. Have you experienced that?
Yes. And it's always so discouraging when you're so excited to work with a brand and then your content absolutely tanks.
Yep.
You're like, cool, I'm glad I asked you to pay me thousands of dollars for this
Right.
content that isn't doing well. And that is unfortunate. And that's why I think like we talk about paid usage rights. I think nowadays brands really should be working that into
They need it.
contracts.
Especially with TikTok. I
Yeah.
like for all the brand, anyone who works for the brand side, I always recommend you do paid usage for TikTok
Yeah.
because they know you're making money off of it.
Yeah.
So you need to pay them to
Yeah.
boost your content.
But I also want to ask, we're veering slightly from, but I'm curious, like, do you really think it is the algorithm, the big bad algorithm, or is it that audiences don't like obvious ads?
I feel,
T.
I feel, to be honest, not to like toot my own horn here. Sometimes I think it can be both. I think
Mm,
sometimes I'll make content that I'm like, I know people are not going to relate as much to this,
yeah,
but I have to abide by what the brand wants.
right.
And I've even told them, a lot of times I'll be very honest and say, hey, just so you know,
Mhm.
I can do this.
Yeah,
I don't expect it to do as well.
yeah,
And they're like, hey, thank you so much, but we have to
yeah,
abide by these certain things. Other times, I feel like I've done a really good video, and then I'm like, with the hashtag ad, it tanks.
yeah,
Not tanks, but just like doesn't do as well. And then they
yeah,
have to boost it, and it does. What's again all the more reason to do boosting is, let's say organically it doesn't do as well. The engagement's still great. They'll boost it. The engagement does great because they're
hmm,
boosting it. And if they specifically boost it to Michigan for my sake, it does really well.
yeah.
So I think a lot of times it can be both, but I think you can't help but think too. If you see for the ones that there's ads specifically on it, I would
'Cause-
hope my audience knows that I'm always going to try to make it as funny and entertaining as possible. And so
Yeah,
I think they do, but I can't help but swipe.
yeah.
Give
It
it for
just
myself.
for short form content, I'm gonna be honest. Like when I see something that's like ad, I just skip past it usually, unless it is like a friend or like a
Mm,
brand, like a creator that I love. Like I love all their content. I'm like a super fan. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I'll see. But if it's like just coming up in like the FYP or whatever, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't need to see that. I feel, and I feel this is why I'm kind of like YouTube long form because I
Yeah.
feel like it's a little easier to blend in
It
ads
is.
because it's like, okay, if this podcast, which it's not, sponsor us, just kidding. If it's sponsored, right, we could do like a 30-second ad read.
Yeah.
And, it's like easier, like you're getting so much more value
Yeah.
compared to like the ad portion. So I think audiences are a little bit more
The value to ad
lenient.
ratio on a single video does outweigh.
Yeah.
I will say and like that's why like I think structurally my goal, especially for the bigger ones, which I think the teams understand,
Yeah.
is my goal is to make you the best ad that has that
Yes.
little pop of entertainment and hilarity.
Yeah.
Is hilarity even a word? I don't
I
know.
like it.
That you plan to blast
Mm-hmm.
on your ad network
Mm-hmm.
and it gets you great engagement. Like that's my
Yeah.
goal. It's not even so much like I almost for the bigger ones, for the bigger companies that I know they're gonna run an ad. My goal is really not even to do that well organically. If
Yeah.
it does well, I'm always like, great. Like one of them I just did amazing organically, and I'm like, this thing's gonna do so well paid,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But the goal, I think they know too, is really just that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the other things on here, just really quickly, that they mention, first of all, when to disclose. Disclose when you have any financial, employment, personal, or family relationship with a brand, which is really interesting. Also, I just want to note too, because I know the UK is like even more hardcore.
They're
They have
really
to put like
data
ad in their
privacy. Oh my
video
gosh.
titles and everything on YouTube. So this, what we're talking about, is specific to the US. So keep that in mind if you live in a different country, like look up your equivalent. But this is actually really interesting. It says, financial relationships aren't limited to money. So disclose if you got anything of value. So like if, I don't know, you had a t-shirt line and you
Huge
gave me a
gift.
t-shirt,
Yeah.
I would technically need to say like,
Right.
like if I was showing it off in a YouTube video, I would have to say
Mhm.
like hashtag ad, like, right.
Or you can be like, look what Ryan or whatever his company name gave me. Isn't this cool? I love this shirt. You know what I mean? But you have to like somehow almost like work it in to be like, I got this for free.
Yeah, you have to
Right.
clearly disclose it.
Right.
That's what it says. Like, place it so it's hard to miss. Make sure
Right.
that people see and understand it.
Right.
So you can't just be like, oh yeah, like Ryan, I got this from Ryan.
Yeah.
Like, I think that might be, but also this is very subjective.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, you probably could,
Right.
but if I really want, like, if it was like a very expensive shirt and this was like your life's work, You know, like if you were
Yeah, well,
like I would be very
I
clear
think
about
there's
it.
a price. Is there a price thing in there that they mention or no?
It
Because I
says
feel like the old way it was like if the gift's over $300.
I
I
think
think
that
it
might have
was.
to do more with taxes. If I don't quote me on
That could
that,
be it too.
but this says like if a brand gives you free or discounted products or other perks,
Yeah.
and you mention one of its products, make sure you disclose.
I f-
Don't assume followers already know
yeah.
about your brand relationships.
No, you definitely can't assume. I feel like I'm noticing though that people have to disclose everything, and I think it is kind of good
Yeah.
because I think transparency is going to help a lot of people learn like how much. I mean, as someone who's been working in like the large top level
Yeah.
advertising, the things I told my friends about how the ad industry kind of can like how granular it can get
Mm-hmm.
uh, will blow some people's minds, and I think that you know it's good that it's coming out. I
Yeah.
think a little bit too. I will say people can think, oh, that won't happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not to scare everybody. But when I was
Happened to Lana.
but when I was getting my drone certification,
Mm-hmm.
they were so big and I was like, can I just get a drone and like do work with it
Yeah.
just cuz? And they said, nope, if you are doing any commercial drone work, you have to get a license.
Mm.
And a lot of people on YouTube were recording like drone footage.
Yeah.
It was like a popular thing at the time of like drone footage of this city or something like that.
Right.
And this one guy made a whole YouTube video about how the FTC found his YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Someone flagged him. I don't know who would flag a fan, maybe. I don't know who would flag him, but they found his YouTube and he had marked, and he had gotten pretty popular. To a lot of his videos were marked as advertising.
Uh-huh.
And the FTC made him pay fees on every video
Wow.
because they said, hey, you don't have a license and
Mm.
you are getting money for all of this. And granted, I don't know what the fees were. They could
Yeah.
have been small, they could have been big,
Yeah.
but can you imagine if one of like my videos were flagged
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like, let's say I wasn't marking it ever.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, like the companies wouldn't really allow me to do that anyway. But let's say one was flagged and then they were like, hey, they found out I was doing it in 30 other videos over the years.
Hmm.
The fees can stack up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not to scare everybody because I don't think those situations happen a lot, but that's why I always tend to just play by the rules always
Yeah.
because you just don't know, especially in the age now where like everything's tracked so aggressively.
Yeah.
I don't want
I'd
to
rather be
get into a
safe than
situation. Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
I personally.
Yeah. I always just, and I'm glad I actually haven't read this in probably a couple years, and I know it's been updated since then, but I always play safe rather than sorry. Like, I know my audience probably gets annoyed when I say this, but I'm always like, oh yeah, like if I'm just answering somebody's question in a Q&A
Yeah.
and they're like, what social media scheduler should I use? I'll be like, oh yeah, like I like Metricool. Full disclosure, they sponsor my podcast. And I know
Yeah.
like that might seem like overkill, but I just like to give a heads up. Like I do genuinely feel that way, that it is the best,
Right.
but I also need to disclose that I do have a financial
Gain.
partnership
Yeah,
with them,
partnership.
you know, like so to pretend like that doesn't somehow influence my response. Like, yes, I'm being honest with you, but also like keep in mind that there is going to be a little bit of bias there,
Right.
you know. That's the point of kind of disclosing. There's three other points really quick and like the what else to know that I think are really important to talk about. Number one, you can't talk about your experience with a product you haven't tried. Number two, if you're paid to talk about a product and you thought it was terrible, you can't say it's terrific. And number three, you can't make up claims about a product that would require proof the advertiser doesn't have, such as scientific proof that a product can treat a health condition. So, thoughts on those points?
I think that kind of ties in with really making sure the low quality businesses don't try to pull the wool over anyone's eyes.
Yeah.
Especially like that last point, I can picture like some kind of health food brand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. I don't know if you've gotten these emails, but and when I was just starting off, I got more of them of, hey, we have this nutritional water. Can we send you some and you talk about it for like $150?
I get like the
And
brain stuff all the time. Like,
yeah,
it'll help your
like
brain
right,
focus
like
or
these
whatever.
things calm you. These things help you focus.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost like trying to keep those ones out from like spreading too many lies.
Yeah.
Because I will say that it's funny. The one point about like trying a product or like not making any claim, most brand deals I have, like when I send the script, they will sometimes say like, "Hey, can we nix saying this?" Like we
Yeah.
can't. They're very sensitive about how you word your experience, or
Yeah.
not even ask you about to share your experience. Just talk about it
Yeah.
for what it is. versus
Yeah.
is it good or bad?
Like I was taking turmeric supplements when I was having inflammation issues. I couldn't, if that brand sponsored me, I couldn't be like, these turmeric drops cured my chronic inflammation.
Right.
Like I couldn't say that. I could say I took these as a part of my, new health
Yes.
regimen that I was working on to eat better and help, my
Right.
inflammation. But I couldn't say like these drops on its own
Yeah.
solved,
And in the world of advertising, I mean, that's like, I have a website, in-michigan.com. I can't be going and advertising #1 site on the internet.
Yeah, right.
Like, I can't be saying those kinds of
Yeah.
things ever. So I think that those laws, for the most part, majority case, is just making sure people don't get too crazy.
Yeah. And I think the like the second one, if you're paid to talk about a product and thought it was terrible, you can't say it's terrific. Like I
Yeah.
relate to this one a lot. Well, even in what I do now, but especially in the early days when I was doing beauty content, people would be like, hey, can we sponsor you? We're blah, 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 cosmetics brand. And I'm like, you have to send me product first.
Yeah.
Because what if my skin has a reaction? What if I don't like it? What if it isn't the
Yeah.
best? And so that was just my own personal preference, is that I didn't want to tell my audience, I love this. And I just used it for the first time, but apparently it's also a rule. And same thing here. Like, I mean, like I said, Metricool sponsors my podcast. I was like, can I get access to the tool first? Because I don't want to promote it if I don't like it.
That's a good tip, I think, for everyone, just to like, hey, if it is a product, try it out.
Yeah. That's actually something, honestly, like talent managers, I think, need to pay attention to that too, because I would have my talent managers be like, hey, here's this random sketchy AI website in the past, can we do a $7,000 deal or whatever? And I'm like, can I try it first before I sign the contracts? And honestly, like looking at this, I guess legally I have to.
Yeah.
So, and then the last, well, yeah, we already just talked about that. You can't talk about your experience with something that you haven't tried.
Yeah.
So,
and I think in the case of, to kind of like close the conversation with the Lana situation, is she posts about something and it can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you are listening and you're just going to try your best and do the most good you can and like making sure people know, you'll probably be great. But Lana Del Rey, a post from her could make a brand $100,000 overnight.
Yeah.
You do need to just make sure you're following everything.
Yeah.
She needed to try the shapewear or whatever she was promoting beforehand and, follow those rules, because I think it's a little bit easier too, because you have a whole team, you know, to kind of like help you with that too.
Yeah. Again, I love the gal. I love Lana, but sometimes I'm like, where is her team? Like, just, like this is a
maybe
huge
she's scrappier and
star.
doesn't have like a big team, and like maybe that's where the issue came in. And now she's like, I really do need a team to like watch over social. Some people don't think they need a social media manager. Well, plot twist. Here's a task you wouldn't think you need a social media manager for, that actually is needed.
And maybe that's something you all can, we all can think about too. Is like, we're just these little personal brands, whatever. But it's like, maybe you do need to think about, I'm not saying for sure, but maybe you need a manager. Maybe you need, to invest in a legal template or a consultation with a lawyer or something like once, just to like, if you're new to this, or at least invest in your education, which you're doing by listening to us. Because it's not just, here's the product, do what you will. Like there is a lot of gray area, and it's important that we're staying compliant.
Go into every single, this kind of ties in with this conversation and past conversations that we've had of just about like getting brand deals and things like that. Go into everyone, especially if they have paid usage, expecting the brand to at least probably serve your video for like 1 million impressions and pay like 10 to 20 grand to boost it. Because if you don't think about that, you won't price yourself correctly, and you won't think about the responsibility behind like FTC compliancy and things like that, because they could. You might not think they will, and most brands might even not boost it for more than a few $100s, but legally they can. So you always need to kind of expect the biggest outcome for your stuff.
And that's such a good point, because it's like, that also goes into why you should be picky with partnerships too. Because I mean, obviously we can't tell you what to do. If you need to pay bills, do what you got to do. But like, some of these sketchy AI companies, like I said, have come on my desk, and I turned down a lot of money because I was like, some of these I just don't think are ethical, or they're
Yeah.
not good, or they're weird, or whatever. And so I turned them down unless they are truly good and aligned with my values
Yeah.
and all that stuff, because yeah, they're gonna take that and make an ad with it, and it's
Yeah.
gonna like haunt me. And actually, Lana, like on Reddit, people are upset that she even collaborated with Skims, because a lot of people don't like Kim Kardashian and whatever, and feel like she's kind of
Mhm.
like not aligned with Lana, whatever. That's a
Yeah.
whole other topic maybe that we'll touch on, of the fandom telling you what to do. But you have to think about those
Yeah, you do.
partnerships carefully, because once it's on the Skims account, like your
Yeah.
control, you've signed over. I'm sure Lana signed over control of those
Yeah.
images.
Ooh, I was gonna say too, when it comes to things like weed, like advertising that, cannabis and such, there's a lot of laws around that. And
Yeah.
and knowing FTC stuff, knowing just general advertising legal things,
Yeah.
that's really helped me, because if something's not federally legal, granted, like something like that is legal here in Michigan, if you're advertising it and let's say the brand doesn't know
Yep.
that it's not federally legal, they could serve your ad and then somehow could be tied back to you like, hey, you're doing an ad in, I don't know if Washington is legal, but
Yeah,
Washington,
yeah.
they're serving the ad and weed's not legal here.
Right.
So you have to really trust that the brand knows what they're doing. Because I will say that world, as like somebody who dove into it for a second, because I was working with this company and they wanted to do some accessories related to cannabis.
Okay.
I was like, I'm never touching this
Yeah.
again. Because it is, if it's something's not federally legal, it is just impossible. And that's why you see a lot of those brands doing out of home advertising.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because digitally, they really can't
Interesting.
do much at all.
Yeah. So billboards and stuff.
Yeah.
And not just keeping that in mind for, being of service to the client and understanding that, but also write that into your rates. Like know that a brand like that, financial brands have a lot, you got a lot of approvals you have to do, a lot of lawyer stuff, health stuff, like we talked about.
It's great to mention of like these brands are going to need a bit more from you. Like,
admin wise, it's not like a
Admin-wise.
lipstick, like, oh, put it on, looks grerait.
right. Thanks for promoting it.
Yeah.
But
It's like, you're probably going to have a lot of rounds of approvals.
one
and
just
stuff.
asked me for a background check. And I was like, it's probably gonna be pretty serious.
I had that too, actually. I'm curious what brand it is now,
Oh.
because mine was a financial company.
Mine was not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine was a financial company, and I was like, this is weird. But
Yeah.
they paid a lot. So I was like, okay, fine.
But I get it. You know what I mean? Like
if I got convicted of like wire fraud,
yeah, you don't know. They
probably
gotta watch
wouldn't wanna
themselves.
work with me. Which I didn't, just to be clear.
Right. Just to be clear. But yeah, so like I think this kind of ties in with just so much that we've talked about of like, there's a lot that goes into these back end things. FTC compliant, that's a whole nother realm. All the more reason when talking about brand deals with businesses and stuff, I hope people feel empowered.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
ask for more, because these smaller guys, they don't know, I don't think, a lot of times. They don't know how much goes into it. They don't know what's involved, because maybe there's their baby step into working with influencers.
Yeah.
There is so much behind the scenes, behind the curtain.
For sure. So good luck to Lana. We hope she doesn't get sued. We need her to continue thriving.
I think she has an album coming out.
She does. And it's going to be allegedly a country-ish album, which is everything to me.
And well, that's also not Beyonce starting this country trend with everybody.
Lana started it first.
Did she?
Lana announced Lasso way before Beyonce's album.
Cowboy Carter.
But Lana has now changed the name to The Right Person Will Stay.
Okay.
She is also known to delay her albums, to change her albums a lot. So we're along for the ride.
I can't imagine being an artist releasing an album.
I know.
And being like, this is what it's going to be forever.
I know. It's scary. But best of luck to her. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to us. Our cameras are...
As we all are navigating... Oh, there we go.
Yep.
But yeah, best of luck to everybody in going through those brand deals, navigating FTC compliantness energy, and leave a review on this podcast if you like this episode.
Yeah.
Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And other than that, we will see y'all in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thumbnail. We can put Lana. We should superimpose Lana.
I know.
In between
Just
us.
Lana right in the middle. And Lana back. It's going to be perfect. Mwah.